Hi, Jean. I know yesterday we were talking about how to navigate change and chaos and the challenges. There's so much going on in our world. And it reminded me of a channeled letter that Beth and I had channeled that is in our first book, Living Beyond Fear. And we were connecting with passengers who perished on a plane crash. And they came through to really talk about loving within the chaos, even in the darkest moments, that we are to find those pockets of light to love. And I just want to read two brief paragraphs from it because I think it really sets the stage for kind of discussing that today. So they share, looking out upon the world, we can see chaos, turmoil, hatred, and fighting. We turn on the news and see mass shootings, out of control fires, and constant fighting within the political arena. We are not denying all that is happening. It is right there in front of us each and every day. It is across the world and right next door. The worst of the darkness comes just before the light dawns. Can you seek out the peace, joy, and love that are hidden within the chaos? We need to look for the pockets of light that are spreading throughout the world. Look for these pockets rising up from the ashes. It's in these pockets of space that we need to fill with love. Spreading love is your mission. It is all our mission.
Berit, that's so beautiful. It's all encompassing
Mm.
with a divine message for healing and how to really move through the change and the chaos that we all experience because no one is exempt.
Mhm. Yeah, there's so much happening, and we can get so um almost like paralyzed. Another thing I heard this morning, before I came in to go on with you and to have this conversation, I heard, don't let fear knock you off your game.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? How do we not let fear? How do we grow these pockets of light?
That is a great question, and I'm sure we're all in tune to receive whatever messages that you have from your work with Beth, as well as angelic guides and those on the angelic realm. But I think when I think about um, chaos and change and challenge, what comes to mind to me is the hurricane, the eye of the hurricane,
Mm, mm, great.
surrounded by a ring of what
Mm,
thunderstorms, cyclones, or whatever. But in that center is calm,
mm,
and that to me is an analogy to life. You know, how do we master ourselves? How do we cope? How do we remain calm within ourselves during these trials and tribulations that we all experience? So, trying to master ourselves and cope, be resilient in the midst of all of this chaos, is really kind of the essence of what we should do, because when we're not in fear, we're in love. And when we're
mm,
in love, love brings us to that inner peace and stability and inner calm that we cannot experience from the outside world. And as you so eloquently stated, all of this chaos really comes from the outside world.
mhm, mhm.
Whether we're experiencing a geographical move, loss of a loved one, um, uh, changing our body image resulting from any type of disabling condition or whatever, um, any death of a loved one, I mean, you name it,
Mhm.
aside from all the external, well, the chaos of the political systems and all of that, we cannot escape it. But to me, to not let the fear take us off that center is, what can I say? It's hard to do, but I think it requires practice and inner
Mhm.
strength.
I love that image. I love that image of the eye because you're right. In the eye of a hurricane, it's perfect stillness
Yeah.
and it's getting still. And, it's reminding us to go within and to be still. You know, it's in the silence and in the stillness that we can hear so much, we can receive so much. We all have gifts, as we know, Jean. Everyone out there, everyone has the gift to receive from the unseen. It might be hearing, it might be seeing, it might be sensing. It's a knowingness, and we each have it. It's just, you know, it's amazing because everyone has different gifts, which is beautiful. But everyone can receive that insight. And it also reminds me of being calm and neutral. I'm hearing right now, with everything you just beautifully shared, I'm hearing again to know that you are safe, that you are secure, and that you are supported.
And how can I love myself in the midst of all of this?
Mhm.
Right? Because I think it all comes back to love, how, being calm, being patient within ourselves, it all comes back to love. I have to love myself enough to not get embroiled in the chaos, no
Mhm.
matter where it's coming from. And that takes tremendous practice. And, but what it does, it takes us to a new way of being with ourselves where we can learn how to navigate ourselves in various situations that we are confronted with.
Mhm. Yeah, that self-love and that self-care. And you're so right that because it lifts our vibration. There, you know, as you so rightly said, our love is our highest vibration. So when we are lifted, we're actually lifted above the fray, is what I'm hearing. And it enables us to be guided, however we're to be guided. Whether we're to do something or not do something, to go somewhere or not go somewhere, we're always being guided. But it opens up the possibilities, and we're not so constricted. We're peace, we're loose, and then we are receiving in the highest way how we are to respond in that situation, again, with an abundance of self-care, an abundance of self-love. Because when we are filled up and that we are whole, which we're always whole with it, but we forget that we are whole of love, and we're whole with care, and we're whole with kindness, and we're whole with all of that. But when we are feeling that, we are actually connected in the highest way for whatever's to unfold after that.
Beautifully said. And I know for a lot of people, the first reaction is to get embroiled, to get anxious, to react. What do I
Mhm.
do? I mean, we get all into this confusion, and all of that really is fear. And how can we train and teach ourselves, okay, I call myself back to who I
Mhm.
truly am. Let me get calm and centered. Let me pray for the divine guidance. Perhaps there are answers to what I'm going through, or perhaps something will be revealed on my path in terms of this, what the ebbs and flows of life that we have talked about. So, how can we move from being reactive and chaotic and going with the flow of fear instead of really, returning to that natural state of love and be calm where we can receive the guidance that's necessary?
You're speaking so beautifully. I have people in my ear just loving what you're saying, and they're sharing with me that we need to not get into the drama. That's the word they're using. And what happens is we get sucked into this drama. We get sucked into old stories. We get sucked into old conditioning. And it does not allow, it constricts any new, fresh story, new, fresh expression to unfold, because it's almost like when we do the same thing over and over again, we get the same outcome. So we need to change that by releasing, and allowing something new to unfold. And we may not know, but to trust that all is well, to trust that we will be guided, to trust that there is a higher intelligence and love, unconditional love and force that's guiding each of us, and to stay present with ourselves, and to stay with compassion and care for the all.
Yeah.
I'm also hearing one other thing that they're sharing, yes, we all make choices, we all have free will, but that our free will is actually moving more towards what is the best for all of us. We're so interconnected. So when we make a choice and we take an action or we use words, which are so powerful, to be mindful of what we are consciously putting out with our energy that is for all of us, for caring for all of us, not just um, what we are in fear or lack or uh, the uncertainties, to not get caught up in that, and to again not let that fear knock us off our game.
And I think when we practice that or believe that and see the results, uh, we began to, really master our emotions. And I think what's so important is that as we become that and model it, we can teach our children, our loved ones, because usually if you're in this drama or chaos or stress or whatever, others are affected by it.
You're in
And
the storm. I mean,
yes,
speaking the
we're all in
analogy,
the
you're in the
storm. So
outside hurricane.
yes, and if we can stay centered, we are teaching others how, and collectively, as
Mhm.
I say, each one reach one, teach one. As you
Oh,
model
I
it
love
and
that.
people see the results, then it's like, okay, let's be calm, let's be patient, and we can teach others and show others, our children or our loved ones or whoever is in the fray, as you indicated,
Mhm.
to lift ourselves up out of the fray.
Yeah, we're not reacting, we're responding.
Yes,
We're not
and
doing
making a choice.
knee-jerk reaction that's been grounded in age-old conditioning, for millennium, right? But we
Yes.
are responding in the highest way at that moment with the best that we can for who we are. Each of us is changing, right? But we are responding in the highest way, with love.
And also one of the things that you spoke to is how we can choose, that
Mhm.
we don't have to choose the same way of reacting, because if you look back on how you have typically responded to chaos or drama or whatever the challenges, and if that led you into more fear and
Mhm.
you became, really more embroiled with stress and trauma, that doesn't work. So
Mhm.
how can we stop and center ourselves to make a better choice for ourselves? What I did before just didn't work for me.
Mhm, mhm. It's so interesting. I'm being reminded of a whale so as
Mm.
you know, Beth and I connect with animals, and the whale that we channeled, and it's a conversation that's in our conversations with animals. But the whale is also sharing to me, it's not that we're negating that things are happening, that there is horror and sorrow and atrocities out there, and so to be mindful, true, we're staying, as you said, grounded and in peace and asking for the highest guidance, but we are not turning away from something that we're seeing, that we're witnessing. To be a witness to something, to give our attention to it, which is interesting. So we're giving our attention to something, but the energy is grounded, it's peaceful, it's looking for the highest. So that informs our response. So it's not that we're separating out from the challenges and the chaos and all the changes that are happening, but we are doing it in the highest way for all of us.
I love that. And as you indicated, we can't just turn away from what we're experiencing, because let's think about a family who's lost their home in a hurricane or whatever situation. It's like, what are you saying? Staying calm and my home is,
Yeah.
destroyed and all of that. And I know our feelings normally, naturally, we're just in chaos. And I mean, how would you feel? I mean, to be empathic How would I feel if that happened to me? My
Mhm,
God, distraught, just overwhelmed.
mhm,
How can you come to a place of peace and stability within? That is really an essential question that, I know a lot of people are wondering, how do we do that when war is around me?
mhm,
Or I don't know if I'll survive the next moment. What is it that I can do in that moment?
mhm. Yeah, I mean, two things come. One is to ask. We're
Mm,
always our every ask is answered. So to ask for that love, to ask for that support, to literally ask, and that's where when we are in tune, like different people are responding. And the second one is the sense that we are all in this collective. So that's so true. People have so many between the fires and the storms and hurricanes and war. I mean, people are being displaced. They are being
yeah,
homes are being like
yeah.
decimated in families. And there's so much grief on so many levels. And again, it's all of us coming together around that individual to and that family to support them with real needs, but emotional needs to support them to know that they are not alone, that they are um, cared for on so many levels.
So we can, even though if we're not in that exact place where this is happening, we
Mhm.
can still pray and send love and
Oh,
peace
mhm,
collectively to
mhm,
hopefully balance it out so that people can stay calm and be resourceful. And if we do that collectively,
mhm,
not that we're in that space for the earthquake people or victims or whatever, but as a holistic,
mhm.
collective consciousness, we can still send the highest
And it's
vibration
and it's
of peace.
real. It's real.
Mhm.
There's two things. One, yes, you can send with prayers and send our compassion. It actually is taken and it's there. It's interesting. One of the things that I did hear from Beth after she passed, that she shared again how she now on the other side in heaven, she can see energetically how our thoughts and our energies are actually the ripple effect and so forth. So it is real, and she is affirming it from the heavens. The other thing is that we are each guided to respond. So some maybe will come to a neighbor or with something that there's a need, a warm meal or household goods or whatever is needed for that in that situation or emergency and so forth. But some will take action, some will do something from afar. I mean, we'll all each be guided with how we are individually encouraged, again, it's our free will, encouraged to respond to a situation. And it's again, when we are in that stillness and quietness, again, what you spoke so perfectly in the beginning about is when we're in tune with it. When we're so stressed out ourselves and feel like every sensory cell is overwhelmed and overloaded, it's very difficult for that unseen guidance to kind of seep in into our thoughts because we've got so much other stuff going on. But we each are being guided every moment, and it's really quite extraordinary.
I'm so glad that you shared this insight because so many people say, well, gosh, we need more than prayers,
Mhm,
and I'm glad that you spoke to that because Beth has shown us how the energy of
mhm.
prayer and peace can really make a difference. And I'm so glad that you shared that.
And that is collective consciousness. We
Mhm,
are consciously sending out our hopes
mhm.
and our prayers and our wishes and our intentions. We're putting that out however we do it, whether it's a prayer, whether it's, having a meditative reflection or, walking, down the street or in the woods with, where we're in our own mind and thoughts. But that literally collectively merging those energies. So when we do that, you do that, I do that, others do that, it actually fuses together with a powerful force, because every thought that we think goes out there. Every thought, you know, it's amazing, but it's like this huge matrix. I mean, just beyond our understanding of these thoughts. And not to get into so much, but I'm being reminded right now, they're saying, you know, we put this out so you actually can literally see thoughts. I mean, they're unseen, but you can feel the energy. It's just like, you know, when you go into a room, you can feel energy about something. It's the same thing. There's different stratospheres of different thoughts. And the heavy ones are and weigh us down, and we need to lift ourselves beyond those heavy thoughts in order to make change, because change is possible. And the one other last thing I just want to share that they're sharing with me is that know that it is possible. Believe that it is possible, because it is possible. And to go down these, oh, I can't, you know, this is an overwhelming situation. What could I do? You do what you are guided to do for you. Each person is, but the collective is so powerful. And when that fuses together, that is where change comes from.
And I think we've seen that power, the universal power, and also the collective consciousness of people who send support or love or whatever. We've witnessed that,
Mhm,
that people come to the aid when people are in need in
mhm.
whatever way that they can. So that really speaks well to humanity.
And that is where those pockets of light are filled and grow, that these passengers on the plane crash that we're talking about, that is where we are focused. Yes, there's a you know, a very difficult, challenging, um, hard situation going on. But it's in those pockets that we are growing that light. And darkness cannot exist in light. So we are expanding and growing it with our energy, with our love, with our desires, with our intentions, and we are growing that pocket of love. And that is within the love, in it, with it, and through the love, that all can be possible.
That is so important. uh, to believe that it's possible, believe that you can recover, believe that I can heal. Uh,
Mhm,
because so many people go in the opposite direction. I give up hope, there's no use. So
mhm,
here you're calling that forward in your life. So I think it's important, even in those trying times, to keep speaking positive affirmation,
mhm,
that you're able to recover. You can survive.
mhm.
You can thrive rather than survive. So that's so important.
And all can be possible. And it's I'm hearing again this quote, again, it came from a cow. I know it sounds odd out there, but there's so much wisdom with these animals. But again, it's love is the end game, and hope is how we get there.
I
So
love
to not lose that hope, to know that there is tremendous energy in hope, and it tests us, to have faith, to have trust, to know that all is well, and then it can be made so. And it's not it's hard to see that. It's hard to see that when you're in it, when you're in the storm. But again, to go within and to call on whatever you need, to ask 24/7, always, always, anytime. Ask big, ask often is what I hear.
I think we have to go deep within the spiritual aspect of ourselves, because the physical aspect of ourselves, getting caught up in the stress, and then our blood pressure goes up and we're all out of sync, and it's like calling in that spiritual power that's within you, but our normal reaction is the physical aspect of it,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
that's, I think, something to just be aware of, and not being trite about it, or not acknowledging uh, how traumatic any situation can
mhm,
be,
mhm,
to kind of get to that space of calm and trusting and faith, it may be hard to do, but what's the alternative? More
Mhm.
fear?
Mhm.
More chaos?
You're so right. And I think it's speaking to living really from a soul empowered, to move from our personality self, which can, keep us running, and stressed, and we're feeling it. And those are important, but and to honor that, honor ourselves, to give ourselves tremendous compassion for going through difficult things, uh, and to honor our feelings. I'm hearing feelings are the language of the soul. So the feelings are really being true to what we're feeling, to really honor that, but to also move ourselves into our soul, because from our soul that we are connecting. It's our soul that is eternal. It's our soul that is guiding. And it's the soul that is helping to sustain us and support us and, um, move us to, there's always change. So to move us from a situation into a more peaceful, giving you the possibility of finding that peace.
Yes, that is very well said. And Barry, you talk so eloquently about honoring our feelings. And, when we were talking about this particular subject, uh, I think one of the questions I had was about people dealing with feelings, dealing with some people go into denial as what can I say, as a buffer or a shock absorber for dealing with grief and loss. And I know you've had encounters personally as well as spiritually with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who talks
Mm.
so eloquently about the 5 stages of grief, being denial, anger, depression, bargaining, acceptance.
Mhm.
Dealing with feelings in the midst of this, denial as a shock absorber, the shock of what I've gone through. I can't even imagine the reality of this experience. So I have to just kind of, just,
Yeah, I
deny.
mean, like none of us want to feel the pain.
Mhm,
All of that is pain. Grief is pain. So you don't even want to deal with it because it's so painful. And that is just a human. We all have that. We all have that. And I think her work is so beautiful, and so loving, and so grounded, in the sense that she is acknowledging the grief. She's acknowledging the real feelings that you go through: rage, anger, you go through denial, you go through these different levels to get yourself to that point where you can be in such compassion to yourself, and to, um, change the perspective on it. It's not negating that there is grief, but it is loving yourself even more. And people I've spoken with on the other side are sharing that really it's through the grief that we come into that love again. That we can be in joy and sorrow simultaneously, but also that, when we always say, when um, we, we grieve deeply because we love deeply. Um, and it's just the heart of love. And it leaves us in such a, vulnerable position. But to love ourselves deeply for that. And yeah, she's amazing. I've connected with her. I've never met her here on Earth, but I have spoken with her on the other side. I had met another woman. They're always introducing me to other people when I connect to the other side. I spend a lot of time talking to lots of people, not always here, but she's an incredible woman, and she's, talking about honoring ourselves, honor ourselves for that experience. That's the most, I don't know, the most, uh, challenging, the biggest of all, the most, the magnitude that we feel when we go through grief and loss. It's at the top. and to really, really honor and love ourselves fully, and to let go of any type of timeline and let go of any kind of expectation, just to sit with ourselves. And as you said so perfectly, to allow feelings to come. Feelings truly are the language of the soul. So we need to honor those and allow them to flow through us in order for us um, to move in however we're to move on the journey of grief.
And to realize that grief has no particular timeline. It's not just a linear process because it can come back and resurface,
Mhm,
years after an event or whatever, a trigger or reminder.
mhm,
So I think we have to, really tend to ourselves, be gentle with ourselves, tend
mhm,
to our feelings. And as you so eloquently say, honor our feelings because
mhm,
grief can kind of come back. Those reminders, the memories, a birthday, an anniversary, the
mhm,
loss of a child, the divorce, whatever life situation in which a person is in transition, it can bring back a memory. And we have to realize, it's a memory, take the good from it. Let's not focus just on the downside of it. Or if there's a loss of a child, maybe find ways to celebrate the life or remember the good times, even though I know it's difficult, in
mhm,
terms of losing a child or whatever. I haven't experienced that, but the point is that just being empathic towards that,
mhm,
your heart just, you know, reaches out to any parents who've lost a loved one or anyone in transition. I think we all have had transitional points, whether it's
mhm.
health related, life changes. We are all, a part of the same equation.
Mhm. It's so interesting. We have Elizabeth Cooper Ross here now. We only have to ask, and we only start talking. As soon as we start talking, and just everyone needs to know out there, when you start thinking about somebody or you start talking with somebody and you think, oh, I'm just making it, or it's in my head or something, they're literally there. So just know that, of course, it's always a two-way street, right? Anyway, she's here. There's two things she wants to share. She's enjoying this conversation because there is so much grief and there's so much to be known again about surrounding it all with love. Always, always surround it with love. So she is sharing one. Now, all right, her first point, she just wants to say to let people know. Uh, you mentioned, especially when you lose a child or somebody that seems like it's out of chronological order. She's sharing with me that everyone is at in peace and unconditional love on the other side. I'm hearing take heart, know that your loved one is so difficult for those here, right? Because you're missing them physically and it's so raw and it's so real and so difficult. But to know that they are in a place of peace. That's
That's
number one. The second thing she's sharing just on the conversation, she's saying that when we grieve, when we go through loss, literally it breaks our heart open. And it's in that space that allows even more love to flow into your heart.
mm,
And
that's
you know that when you've gone through loss or hardship or deep grief, that you're not the same person. You're not. And you have literally had your heart broken open, and it is really allowing that love, that unconditional, that wellspring of eternal, abundant love to flow to you, through you, and to fill you, to hold you, and to sustain you. And that is what she's sharing.
Thank you, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross,
Thank
for
you, Elizabeth.
joining us.
Gosh, it's
That's so
amazing.
comforting because how many people blame themselves or have that guilt and bring suffering every day? If I only have done this, or maybe I should have done that, And what she speaks to is quite comforting.
Mhm. All right, every time you talk, there's another person here. So, and there's another person that just popped in, that everyone's listening. We have a whole group here, but they step forward based on, but she is, she's actually in our first book, Living Beyond Fear, but she is sharing that, yes, we can feel like, okay, I could have done something. We, um, just rack ourselves or whatever. That's what I'm hearing. I don't know. That is with our own like regrets or we coulda, shoulda, right? There's not a coulda, shoulda. They're on their own journey, even though it's so painful, so difficult, and we can't even understand it. And we can't understand. We're in, it's beyond that. But to know that they are on their own journey. We're each on our own journey. So to not take on, there's no blame, there's no shame, there's no anything that we need to weigh ourselves down on, but we can just send love. And that we miss you. We can talk with them. We can talk with loved ones on the other side. We can talk with animals on the other side. We can talk with angels and energies. And I mean, and we don't always have to even know who we're talking, to. But usually you get, I don't, there's different, they each have their own energy. Once you kind of connect with the energy, you recognize it again. It's like having a cell phone number, right? You see the cell phone number. Oh, this is Jean's cell phone number. I know it's Jean calling, right? It's the same when you're connecting with somebody on the other side.
I think that's so beautiful because many feel alone. And what you're saying, we're never alone. We can
No.
call on our loved ones or
Mhm.
call on for divine support or inspiration or encouragement when we feel down and out of sorts. So we're never alone, which is very comforting.
Exactly. We're never alone. And then we always say, we talk about, for us at least, I call them soul teams. Everyone has a soul team. It's like your 24/7 personal entourage, they're always with you. Different people kind of come and go, but you have I'm hearing a steady Eddie team, but you have your group, and they are loving you unconditionally. They're supporting you unconditionally. They are available anytime, anywhere with anyone, and to call on them and then to rest that your ask has been answered. And that's what helps us to feel that love, to feel that we're not alone, to feel that guidance. And that, I think, getting back to kind of what we started with, that is what helps us to navigate the constant changes. Change is constant, but we are navigating challenges and we can navigate, difficult times as well as it's always easier. It's always easier when it's easy, right? When it's happy and easy and positive. And it's not all that. It's the all of it, which is they're sharing. It's like it's all of our experiences that are shaping. But to know that we have great love, we have great care, and to call on whatever's needed to bring us peace.
So encouraging and so comforting. And we all need to hear that and know that
Mhm.
because it can be very difficult. But we have to really know that we are loved and we can call on that support. We're never alone. And
Never.
it's not easy. We're not making, it's not, uh, uh, as you say, for the faint of heart. But we have to endure and sustain ourselves and move forward on our path because
Mhm.
fear takes us backward,
Mhm.
right?
And know that all is well.
All is well.
So thank you all for joining us. Jean and I send again so much love to each of you. Whatever you're going through, whatever you're feeling, just honor that. Give yourself an abundance of love and self-care. And thank you so much for being with us. And we invite you to check out some of our other discussions. It's always fun to chat with Jean and whoever pops in or from the other side to share their love. So love to everyone.